1 second, 13. All right,
She's ready.
we'll be ready.
We're ready.
Okay, we live? Okay, welcome everyone. We're starting the meeting. And first off, I'd like to congratulate our new member of the commission, Susan Holbert. Congratulations to Susan. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Bessler,
Here.
Mayor Cause,
Here.
Commissioner Thiehassen,
Present.
Commissioner Herbert,
Here.
Vice Mayor Magruder.
Here.
Okay, any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
I have one, Mayor, or I have two. There was a request to remove item number 2 from the consent agenda and place it as the first item under regular agenda items, and the item will remain as number 2. And then the second one is to move item number 16 up to item 8A so that our town engineer can speak to that before she has to leave this evening.
Okay, and if we start running out of time, we'll maybe move it further.
Okay.
Okay, does somebody want to make that motion then?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all those who approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. What are you laughing at?
She was gonna do it. It was
Oh,
gonna be your
so
first thing.
Sorry, you can do the next one.
Okay, the announcements. It says Tracy, but is it
We
Carl
gotta
or
back
Tracy?
up just a little bit. We're gonna do the election results
Oh,
first
sorry.
and swear in the new commissioners. Okay, so we had our election on March 12th, and the results were Steve Cause received 320 votes, Susan Hurlbert received 243 votes, and John Lipscomb Jr. received 158 votes. All of the charter amendment questions passed as well. And also, the supervisor of elections certified that the total number of registered voters is 1,624 in Ocean Ridge. Total ballots cast were 464. Total voters who voted here at the precinct in Ocean Ridge were 359, and then 105 voters voted by absentee. The turnout was 28.57%. And at this time, I'd like to swear in our new commissioners. Commissioner Cause and Hurlbert. I'd like to stand and raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Steve Cos,
I, Susan Hurlbert. Do solemnly swear or affirm.
do solemnly swear or affirm
You can go together. That I will support, protect, and defend.
that I will support, protect, and defend
The Constitution and government.
the Constitution and government
Of the United States.
of the United States
And the state of Florida.
and the state of Florida
Against all enemies.
against all enemies,
Domestic or foreign.
domestic or foreign,
That I will bear true faith.
that I will bear true faith,
Loyalty and allegiance to the same.
loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
That I am entitled to hold office.
that I am entitled to hold office
Of the state of Florida.
of the state of Florida,
That I will faithfully perform.
that I will faithfully perform
All of the duties.
all the duties
Of the office of town commissioner.
of the office of town commissioner
Of the town of Ocean Ridge, Florida.
of the town of Ocean Ridge, Florida,
On which I am about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. And I believe you have.
Okay. Tracy, my agenda is different than yours. I have announcements coming now.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Announcements is now, yes, correct. Okay, the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be held on Monday, April 8th at 8:30 a.m. at Town Hall. The next regular Town Commission meeting will be held on Monday, May 6th at 6 p.m. at Town Hall. The Town Commission will hold a special meeting on Thursday, April 18th at 2 p.m. The Town Commission will consider appointments to the following board positions at the May 6th, 2019 Town Commission meeting. Board of Adjustment, 1 regular member for a 3-year term. One regular member for a 2-year term and 2 alternates for a 3-year term. Planning and Zoning Commission, 2 alternates for a 3-year term. Interested residents must be registered to vote in Ocean Ridge and submit a resume and letter of interest to the town clerk by April 26, 2019. Incumbents are exempted from the resume and letter of interest requirement. The town will be providing free shredding services to residents on Saturday, April 27th from 9 a.m. until noon at Town Hall. Residents who wish to add their name to the email blast list to receive important town notifications should sign up on the sheet provided on the counter in the lobby or notify the town clerk. And the last one, we have a presentation of a certificate to our Commissioner DeHasseth, who recently attended the Elected Municipal Officers Program. And here. Okay, and the letter from the Florida League of Cities states, on behalf of the John Scott Daly Florida Institute of Government and the Florida League of Cities, I am pleased to award this certificate to you for the completion of 18 hours of instruction at the Institute for Elected Municipal Officers in Jacksonville, Florida on January 25th through 27th, 2019. It is our sincere hope that you found the program challenging and worthwhile. Now that you have taken the basic EMO, we encourage you to attend the Advanced Institute offered annually. We also encourage you to take advantage of other training opportunities through Florida League of Cities University and the Institute of Government. We strongly believe that your attendance at the Institute is indicative of your continued commitment to improving the quality of municipal government in Florida. And I have your certificate.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, public comment? Almost.
Giving everybody else a chance, and they'll come afterwards. Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. I want to congratulate Christine DeHantis for that wonderful award, and Susan Hurlbert, is that pronounced correctly, for your election. You have a year of high scrutiny for everything that goes on here. But also I want to congratulate all of the voters in the town of Ocean Ridge who passed the 4 amendments that were on the ballot with very, very good margins. I hope all of you agree. Now, the one that didn't get on the ballot, which was denied by a vote of this commission, someone who sat in your seat, was convinced at the last vote that it would be good for him if he voted no on that. Well, that didn't turn out to be a happy ending for him because he lost his election. But we will try to bring that amendment back either by ordinance or by petition to put it on the ballot. And that's the supermajority. And I hope you spend a few minutes reading it and study it because it's very important for the future of the town. The other thing that I wanted to get cleared up is, are we talking about Chris Wayne's projects tonight? I know you have it on the, you're going to publicly speak about it.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
We just moved it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Betty.
Good. Betty?
Something has happened in the last month that really sort of bothers me. I know that they had a counter out there to see whether we needed another crosswalk. I think that's great. But I think when you try to skew the figures so you can get what you want, that it's a little beneath the town of Ocean Ridge. They sent out a thing telling people to cross as frequently as possible, which is an attempt to skew figures, and that upsets me.
Melanie Rodriguez, 3 Fayette. I'm actually speaking for the residents of Fayette in regards to that same issue. We're concerned about the extra foot traffic that will come from that direction. We already have 2 condo developments using the crosswalk, and we feel like there'd be more traffic coming from the north and the south should it be there and people see, oh, beach access, open access. And when Jamie was here on the February 4th meeting, he quoted, "The walkway at Fayette is specifically dedicated to the property owners of the Tropical Subdivision 1, so there may be an issue of pedestrians being able to gain access to the beach, and that pedestrians can be routed to beach crossovers at Beachway to the north and Tropical to the south." End of quote. So in regards to Crown Colony residents stating it's a hidden gem, we understand. We think it is too. We'd like to keep our neighborhood that way. We all purchased our homes knowing there was no crosswalk. In regards to the yacht club, they also purchased their homes with knowledge knowing that their access is Beachway Drive. And since they're not part of Tropical Subdivision, we're not really sure how they're able to weigh in on this issue. One of their residents stated that there were 200 homes between the 2 places, and there are, which means we have that going through our community already. So now we've got 2 condo buildings coming that will see that sign and then come through our neighborhood too, which I'm sure Crown Colony and Yacht Club wouldn't like 200-plus people walking through their neighborhood. So as Fayette residents, we are respectfully requesting that the town consider an alternate route for the crosswalk to alleviate the foot traffic that we are already enduring. Thank you.
Just so everyone knows what's being discussed, there was a Department of Transportation study done 2 weekends ago, I believe, and it studies the amount of vehicular traffic on A1A in that particular stretch and the number of pedestrians that are trying to get east to west, west of east, crossing A1A. There's been a request from numerous citizens to put in some form of a safe crosswalk there, which is similar to what's out in front of Town Hall here, the little yellow man in the middle of the road. So that study has been performed. The data has not been processed. We expect to have the data next week. So we can discuss it further if you so choose, but until we have the data in front of us, the data will be what the data is. We have no control over the data.
But you also waited till it was high season too, that was in the notes. That let's wait until it's high season, peak season.
I don't really know what notes you're talking about.
It's in the notes from the commission that that's when you were gonna do the study, when it was during peak season.
Right, because the DOT requires that. They want to see when it's busy, when it's not busy. But the study has been done, and I don't think it was quite peak season because we missed peak season. But whatever. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Sarah Stiles. I'm on 16 Fayette, and I also represent my mother. We have a problem with the Republic Trash Services. They are backing down our street to service Ocean Manor behind us through a gate. While they do that, they block my entrance and exit to my home. I also have photos, which I'd like to give you, of them having their septic pumped and blocking me for 2.5 hours and spilling stuff all over all over my property.
The septic from Ocean Manor being pumped
Yeah,
from Fayette.
they Roto-Rooter parked behind my car and blocked me in. I contacted.
Are you the last house on the south or the north side? South side.
I contacted Republic, and I got this so that they had permission from the town to do that, and I had to call the police to ask that Roto-Rooter could please move so I could take my mother to the doctor, and the police asked me if I really had to go somewhere.
So this is the first that I think the commission's being alerted to this. Tracy, could you look into this, Chief?
That would be great.
Now, one other thing, Ocean Manor, because the contract with Republic is actually up for renewal at this minute in time.
Right.
I don't know if you're aware of that. So I think we should also actually have an active discussion with Republic about why they need to go down Fayette. I know there was some questions last year about this, but Ocean Manor has a circular or a U driveway, let's call it. And I know that in my neighborhood, they go through
Well,
U's.
because it's it's a commercial amount of trash.
Yeah, I think it's the big
It's
containers.
a big dumpster,
Yeah.
and these are big recycling, and they have to pull them out and go through on top of my property. So it's obstructing and trespassing.
Well, Tracy and the chief will take a look at the situation.
'Cause I have
Because we
photos.
don't know what's on the other side of the wall where those receptacles are.
Well, they've done it in the past. The house was built in the sixties. We've owned it the whole time. And this is kind of a new thing. I've been in Europe. I live in Europe as well as here. So I haven't been here. I don't know when this went through, but I'd like to see whatever legality allowed it, because
Well, it might be as
Ocean
simple as getting Republic not to do it. We don't know the answer to that.
That'd be great. Well, you can see where they
Yeah.
say that they were told to, so.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Thompson, and I am an Ocean Ridge registered voter residing at 5500 Old Ocean Boulevard, also known as Ocean Manor. And so I'd like to address that. I'm also the president of our 20-unit condo association, as I was 6 years ago when I came to a town commissioners meeting requesting and receiving approval to put in an access gate at the west end of our property to gain access to Fayette Drive, a public street. Now, at that time, Ocean Manor had received a permit to replace our driveway, and this was part of the effort that we had on our part to do that, to allow garbage to be collected there as opposed to coming down our driveway. The main reason is, besides understanding what it was we were doing, the commission recognized the necessity for this access gate for the safety of our residents, their children, and their grandchildren. On the north building, we have between our parked cars and our exit steps from the building, there's only 10 to 12 feet of clearance, depending on the size of vehicle that's parked there. And again, and I want to add that, as it turned out, the Republic people preferred that access from Fayette because the turn around the northwest corner of our north building is extremely tight. As I mentioned, the driveway is only allowed when cars are parked there 10 to 12 feet. So they were having a very difficult time making that turn, and I'd like to do it. I'd like to change that. And the fire department was also in favor of this because right outside our gate, there is a hydrant on town, what do you call it, the town right-of-way, and that it would facilitate being able to get service to the west units on our property. And we worked with the fire department to put a Knox box on the wall right at the gate to facilitate their ability to enter the property. Also, I would say 6 years ago, I informed the commissioners that we had discussed the access gate plan with the then, quote, unofficial mayor, unquote, of Fayette Drive, who did not register any concerns and indeed agreed with our proposal. Republic trucks already traverse Fayette Drive three times a week to service the residents there. And the additional time it required for them to access and service our containers is extremely minimal. So finally, I guess we'd like to say that, to quote a phrase from that was made popular by Shakespeare, we see that there's a lot of fuss, but it's, quote, much ado about nothing, in our opinion. And we
Okay,
see,
so
we see no reason.
Let's not say things
to do
like
that.
that, number one. Number two, we can go on this all night, okay?
For sure.
But right now, we're gonna have the town manager, the acting town manager, and the police chief take a look at this situation. We're in an active negotiation with Republic.
Right.
Obviously, there has to be a better solution for both sides. I can't speak to what the commission was thinking 6 to 8 years ago. And last I remember, that
6
gate
years ago.
is locked, if I remember, at the end of Fayette.
Yes, it is.
Right, so let's not, I mean, we can go on about this all night, and I'll let one other person from Fayette, and that's it, and then we've got to move on. But we will look into this, and we'll put it specifically on the agenda for a future meeting, okay?
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, you're the last person, yeah. And by the way, for everyone, if you do have an item that is this important, definitely let the town, either let a commissioner know or let Tracy know, and it'll get on the agenda. Then we can allot the time for it.
My name is Betsy Hamilton, and I live at 6 Fayette Drive. And I especially want to speak to the safety issue of this. The truck that comes down the street to empty the garbage is the third garbage truck that comes down the street. And we're the street that your other people have talked about. A lot of people walking down, they need a crosswalk to go down our street to access the beach, all of Crown Colony. Last Friday, I watched the third garbage truck, which is the one that is emptying the garbage from Ocean Manor, back down the street faster than any of our normal garbage trucks, roared down the street. He did have his bell on, but when two people were walking up the street, he just banged on his horn, and they jumped on the grass. I actually saw this happen. Our local garbage trucks go from house to house. It's not the same as the guys who tear down their street, because that's the only stop they make on the street, and tear back up the street. It's very different than the normal garbage trucks. It is a lot less dangerous and a lot of a problem for the management of Ocean Manor to take their garbage to the front of their property and have the garbage truck pick it up as it goes along. My guess is that the garbage truck would rather do that than come all the way over to our street and back down. It's a serious problem. It really is, with the traffic on Fayette Drive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is this, if it's on the same matter, it's closed. Mary Lee, is this something different? Yeah. Is it?
Marilee Lundquist, 6277 North Ocean Boulevard, and congratulations on the re-election and the election of our new commissioners. And thank you, Christine, for taking your course. We appreciate that. I would like to read from a newsletter from the Florida Coalition for Preservation. Excuse me. And it states that Boynton Beach has approved close to 3,000 additional residential units at the base of Woolbright and Ocean Avenue bridges. That is more residents than populate the area occupied by Gulfstream, Briny Breezes, the Surf Pocket, and Ocean Ridge. Now, I think we're aware of all this new construction that has been approved. And that will, again, put more pressure on our beaches. Now, a little bit of history. I think that some of you have heard this before, but 20 years ago, we did have a sign that said Town of Ocean Ridge at the south side of Boynton Beach Public. The sign was taken down by, we don't know who. The sign was put back up again and taken down, and in 20 years, there has not been a sign on the beach stating that, this is Town of Ocean Ridge property. Excuse me. And I would like to ask that there should be a Town of Ocean Ridge sign for the south side of the inlet, the north side of the hammock, the south side of Boynton Beach Public, and the north side of briny. And I think we need to educate people that this is Ocean Ridge, not Boynton Beach. And so I'm wondering if we do have a plan to educate people and delineate our town property. And I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it a non-Fayette item? No, it was.
No, it's concerning, safety concerning our complex, but
Well, what complex? Okay, same thing. Yes.
Louise Stilitsky, 47 Spanish River Drive. We've had a continuing situation of flooding. I gave some pictures to a few of the people here tonight. I was a little distressed that with a new election and new people coming on the board, that nobody has come to look at that. Outside of Mr. Cameron, the vice mayor. I don't think Tracy has been over there.
I have.
You have? Very good. This is a
I've
continuing
been there
problem.
twice.
You've been there twice. It's been a continuing problem. It's not getting better. We were told 2 years ago that these drains need to be maintained, and we will take care of it. Nothing
Before you
is being
continue,
done.
let me just check, because we were bringing in barnacle busters to take a look at that flap. Do we know the answer to that question?
Yes, they'll be here on Wednesday, and
There you
they're going to look at a duck bill for that area.
Right. What happens is the flap gets cleaned and then it drains, so it's pretty successful for a while, but then the barnacles come back rather quickly. We're on a maintenance schedule, so with that particular valve, we don't know why the barnacles come back more quickly, but we'll know the answer after Wednesday.
Right, well, you know, there's other flooding. Rick Carey here lives around the corner,
Right,
and he
and
has flooding
That one
also.
has roots and debris blocking it, and the town engineer is in the process of attempting to clear it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and the public comment, that was pleasant. Okay. Carla, will you please read the consent agenda, which has been changed, as you noted?
Item 1, adopt minutes of regular town commission meeting of March 4th, 2019.
Somebody want to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we're moving on to regular agenda items.
Number 2.
Excuse me, that's right. We moved the consent agenda item number 2 down, which will be, Tracy, I guess, should chat about this.
And this is for authorization to execute a change order for the Chris Wayne landscaping contract and hire a temporary employee for the Public Works Department. And as the commission may be aware, one of our Public Works maintenance employees is out on workers' comp leave, which leaves a void in the staff, as we only have 2 full-time employees in that department to begin with, so now we're down to 1. Our plan initially was to execute a change order for the Chris Wayne contract for some of our landscaping needs and to fill all of the other duties of that position with a temporary employee until the regular employee is authorized to return to work. All of this can be done within budgeted amounts since the insurance company is paying the wages of the employee while he's out on workers' comp. And I know there were some concerns about the Chris Wayne contract, so I'll just open it up for commissioners to let us know what those are.
I think you had a point to...
Yeah, I just, it might be a little bit premature to see what type of landscaping needs we have at Beachway Drive until they are until we finish the project. And it might be something because it's a dune area, part of it is a dune area, it might be more sensitive and better to handle with our own maintenance crew if we can beef back up our maintenance crew with the sensitivity rather than having a regular maintenance crew go into a dune. So I would just like to freeze it for a little bit.
Okay, are you talking about the crossover?
Yes. both the-
specifically? Okay,
Yes.
what we wanted to execute the change order was for the other corner across the street from that. We have a section where there are posts and rope
Correct.
that our Public Works employees have to go and mow and maintain, and that's the area in question. And I'm not sure if there are other areas on Beachway.
Well,
Wayne,
I think
speak
what
to that?
Christine's getting at is when we see what the foliage is that finalizes at the Beachway,
Right.
then we'll know what's going to be in the wasteland, because right now there's nothing there, so they don't need to mow it.
Exactly.
So I think we're just saying, let's wait a couple months until we finalize that end of Beachway.
There may be the opportunity, rather than having grass there, that there may be dune sunflower, something
Daisies,
that's very pretty and flowery, that may not require any maintenance whatsoever.
Right, but on the other side is what
No,
we're in
yeah,
question.
exactly.
What's in
Exactly,
question.
on the other side is where I'm talking about.
Okay.
Maybe bringing some of that foliage from the dune over to the other side of the street also. So,
Okay.
I just
So-
think it's premature.
Yeah, so maybe we could split item 2 in half and just go with the second half of it, which is trying to find someone to help our Public Works Department on a temporary basis. I don't know how the commissioners feel about that.
I agree with that 100%.
You know, I'm fine with it.
Do we have public comment?
Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. No, I was concerned about the list for the Chris Wayne modification on his contract. It did not include the entrance to Harbor Drive. So I just wanted to be sure that wasn't on anyone's secret list, and all of a sudden, one day, we come out and he's there mowing down everything.
No.
Because that still has not been finalized yet, as I understand it. Is that right?
Yes.
All right,
correct.
thank you.
All right, so, yep. Really?
Stella Kolb, 204 Beachway. I just want to say that I agree with what Christine and Mayor Cause have said. We need to wait on Chris Wayne's contract, especially for Beachway, because we do have ideas of putting something that's no maintenance or very, very little maintenance. We're waiting for it to get done, and I encourage the commission to please give Billy some help, because our maintenance guy really has been working around the clock with Wayne, and he's there all the time, so he definitely needs help. Thank you.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to bring in a temporary employee of Public Works Department? Susan?
Yeah, let's see. I'll move to approve the consent agenda item with modification where we are authorizing the acting town manager to proceed with the change order, or not to proceed with the change order, to hire a temporary employee.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Tracy, number 3.
Carla, can you read the resolution into the record?
Resolution number 2019-04, a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, electing a mayor.
Okay, so I believe the commission consensus would be to vote by ballot on this, as we had done in the past, to select our previous town commissioner, Robert Sloat, but we'll have to have a vote on that before we proceed.
Do we need a vote or a consensus, Brian?
Well, a consensus is
Well,
fine.
I mean, I think that was the direction you
Right.
gave the
That's what we
last
had.
time, so I think you can just proceed
Right.
that way. That was, they had already previously given that direction.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're
to-
ready
to
to vote
proceed
then.
forward, so.
Carla,
Yes.
if you want to, Carla will pass out the first round of ballots for you.
Dana? Tampering.
Great start.
I vote in mine, too.
Probably ought to introduce Carla to everyone so that they...
Good point. Well, she was here last meeting.
You can announce how many votes are for each person, and then we can proceed to round 2 if necessary.
Okay, so there was 3 votes for Steve Cos, and there was 2 votes for Don Magruder.
Okay, so Steve Cos wins that, and we don't have
Thank
to
you.
go through.
Thank you,
the
Commissioners.
rounds.
Appreciate it. And thank you for electing me to commission again. Appreciate it.
So the next step will be for a motion and a second to approve the resolution electing Steve Cos as your mayor.
Yes.
Somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to elect Steve Cos as our mayor for Ocean Ridge,
And that's in accordance with Resolution 2019-04.
in accordance with Resolution 2019-04.
Yes.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I think it carried unanimous.
Did.
That's a first. Okay, resolution number 2019-05, resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge electing a vice mayor. And like, once again, this is Tracy and Carla, who is our acting town clerk, for those of you who are new to the meetings.
She's serving as assistant town clerk at the moment. I'm still town clerk.
I thought you, I'm lost.
The other hat.
I thought we got rid of that. Yeah.
Don't go anywhere.
Hang tight. Go right here.
Perfect.
There was 4 votes for Don Magruder as vice mayor and 1 vote for Christine DeHasses.
I want to thank everybody for not doing any April Fool's jokes.
Would you like to make your own motion?
No.
I'll make the motion.
The motion would be to approve Resolution 2019-05, electing Don Magruder as vice mayor.
As stated.
Do we have a second?
She took us.
I'll second it.
There you go.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Once again, it was unanimous. Okay, resolution number 5, item number 5, resolution number 2019-06, and this would be by
Carla, you read?
Carla.
Resolution number 2019-06, a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge, designating depositories, authorizing treasurer or deputy treasurer to sign town checks, authorizing any one of the 5 town commissioners to countersign checks.
This is a pro forma item. You have to do this every year after your election occurs in order to have the treasurer sign your checks and also any member of the town commission countersigns the checks.
So it's an addition of Susan, basically.
Yes. And a deletion of Robert Slope.
Any public comment? Commissioner discussion?
No.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve resolution number 2019-06, allowing the authorization of the 5 commissioners to sign and countersign checks on behalf of the town.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay. Item number 6, resolution number 2019-07. My sheet says this is by Tracy. Okay.
The Town Commission adopted a fee schedule on September 6th of 2018, and since that time, staff has noticed a few items that were not included on the fee schedule that have been charged for many years, and also determined that the special detail fees do not adequately cover the cost of the town. We also determined that the building permit fees are not adequately covering the cost of running the building department. We attached Appendix A and Appendix B as fee schedules for you, and also marked the new ones in yellow in your packet, and also the change items in the fee column were also marked in yellow for you, so you could see which ones had changed.
Okay, that's it? Brian, do you need to add anything, or?
I do
Wayne?
not.
Wayne? Nope. Public comment? Okay, Commissioner discussion?
Thank you for taking the time to do it.
Absolutely.
Do I hear a motion?
Now I'll make the motion. I move to adopt resolution number 2019-07, amending the town fee schedule effective April 1st, 2019.
Do we have a
Second the motion.
Second? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimous. Okay, item number 7, 2019-08, a resolution of the Town Commission amending the employee handbook. And this is by Acting Manager Tracy.
Yes. As you know, the town charter amendments were approved by the voters at the March 12th election. Due to those changes, the employee handbook now needs to be amended to reflect the charter amendments. In addition to the charter amendment changes on page 35, staff also proposes a change on another item in the employee handbook, adding the language that an employee may draw down on personal absence leave until exhausted when out on workers' comp leave in order to supplement the workers' comp insurance payments on page 21 and 22 of the booklet.
Any public comment? Any commissioner discussion? Just, Brian, when I was going through that section, that area, not necessarily that exact area, I noticed that we have reasons for terminating somebody, for violation of work rules. And it lists all these items that would be quite shocking if an employee did. But we never, unless it's in the book and I missed it because it's a very long book, we never say anything about if the position is eliminated, if the budget's reduced, or if the budget's cut, that somebody could lose their position, and it's not through poor work habits.
No, I mean, that's something that is really not in an employee handbook. That is a budgeting item. So if you decide not to budget a position or a department or something like that, that's within your purview. You can do that. And then if there's no, if that is not budgeted, then once the money runs out or at the end of that fiscal year, then that position will be gone.
Right, and okay, I understand that part. And the second half is Florida is a right to work, a right to work state. We still, the employee handbook doesn't cut across any of those abilities of the
Correct.
town, let's put it. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Do
I
you-
move to approve Resolution 2019-08, amending the employee handbook as submitted.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, item number 8, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2019-03. And this is Carla.
Second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2019-03, an ordinance of the Town of Ocean Ridge, amending its code of ordinances by amending Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 1-3, Definitions, to modify definitions regarding flood elevations, amending Chapter 66, Environmental Regulations, Article 2, Flood Damage Prevention, Division 2, Definition, Section 66-25, Definitions, to modify definitions regarding flood elevations, amending Chapter 67, Building and Building Regulations, Article 3, Technical Codes and Other Construction Standards, Division 1, Generally, Section 67-32, Floor Elevations, to modify the town's minimum floor elevations in order to comply with the revised FEMA flood map requirements, providing for codification, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Brian, would you like to speak out on that?
Actually, I think this is Lisa, if I'm not mistaken. So just this, this is just, we're amending or changing some of the requirements in here, and I believe in order to comply with just the revised FEMA flood elevations. Is that correct,
This is
Lisa?
second reading. First reading was approved unanimously with no comment or no changes, so this is before you on second reading. Do you have any questions?
Any public comment? Yes, sir.
In the back.
Chairs, two of the elected. Peter Burling, 7 Osprey Drive. Just a general comment. We have a meeting coming up on April 18th to do a workshop of issues of importance to the town. And it strikes me as a little incongruous that important issues relative to elevation of houses, things that may become very important to us as a community as water rises, that those kinds of changes are accompanied by no text whatsoever. It may be on second reading, first reading may have passed, but as I look around at this wonderful collection of my neighbors, I'm a little troubled that nobody sees what the text is. And that's my only comment, except to say thank you so much for having the April 18th meeting. I'm really looking forward to that workshop. So that's my comment.
Thank you, and thank you for pointing that up to us. First reading, there's more information. Second reading, especially when something unanimously passes, perhaps has a little less discussion. But what this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is, FEMA has dictated new guidelines, and we're simply bringing the town into accordance with those new guidelines.
I think Lisa could add to this, but yes, what we've done here, even though we've changed certain sections of the code around, I think the biggest change is, it's my understanding, FEMA has come out with new maps recently, and all we're doing is making our code in compliance with those maps. But Lisa
Yes,
could.
Mayor, can I address that too? We did provide the text of the ordinance in the town commission meeting packages, and those were published on our website last Wednesday.
Okay, so just to add to that, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Even though it looks like we're going through first reading and second reading and there are no issues to speak of, I just want to let everyone know for the record that we have been working on this for probably close to 10 years. The maps that we have been using in the past were from the 1980s. So in conjunction with the Palm Beach County League of Cities, the Florida League of Cities, the flood insurance rate map folks, and the representatives from FEMA, over the years, we have looked at issues that include, but not as necessarily limited to, sea level rise, the impact of hurricanes that have occurred more recently than they have been in the past, and several other issues, and have come up with this map change. It was not done overnight. It was, quite honestly, took longer than it should have, in my professional opinion, because we have maps from the 80s, and now we just recently have new maps. So this was not something that was done on a whim. The change in elevation is 0.6 of a foot, and so we are making these changes basically as what we would call a housekeeping issue to stay in compliance with FEMA and the National Floodplain Insurance Program, NFIP.
Thank you. So to Peter Burling's point, the workshop on the 18th, I know that several citizens have approached me on this matter. Drainage will definitely be an issue that will come up at the workshop, and everybody's invited. Sewers will definitely come up. There's some questions on policing. There's some questions on the beach. Anything that you think is a large item in town, feel free to bring up at the workshop. The workshop is very different than this. It's a lot more freewheeling discussion. So that would be a great thing if you have anything that you want to have discussed in a large context. Alert Tracy or alert one of the commissioners or Carla, and they'll make sure that it's part of the workshop on the 18th.
At what time?
2 p.m.
2 o'clock. Yes, Peter.
I'd just like to say to the people who were involved in doing this work, I did not intend for a second to suggest that what they were doing was slipshod or in some way undercover. I just think we need to be paying attention.
And I hope there's nothing I've said that indicates that. Lisa's done fantastic work. In fact, I just found out today that Lisa was originally brought into this town 20-odd years ago when we were flirting with implementing sewers. And then we got hit with Irene, and the town flooded, so her talent was asked to deal with the flooding instead of bringing in sewers. So Lisa's very, very up to speed on what's happening in town. Okay, so
Go, Don.
discussion?
This is yours.
Oh, it's my turn? Okay. I move to adopt ordinance number 2019-03 as submitted on the second reading.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimous. By the way, for people that don't go to very many meetings, I don't think there's ever been 5 or 6 or 7 votes in a row that are unanimous. There's usually much more back and forth. Don't curse it. Who said that, Susan? Yeah.
It's April 1st.
Someone move up the agenda for those that don't have it in front of them on the screen, that'd be nice.
Okay, we're on to item,
Number 9.
my phone's gone, it's off. Item number 9. And this would be Attorney Brian Shute. Oh,
Right,
excuse
I
me.
think number 16 was.
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah. So 8A, Tracy,
Yes.
would be,
This is going to be discuss hiring a consultant project manager for water contract and possible sewer conversion.
right. So actually, I'd like to take something a little out of order here. Perhaps Lisa could come up to the podium, because what I said in the last segment actually applies to what we're doing here.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. It was about 20 years ago that I was actually hired by the commission to give a study on the importance of converting over to a wastewater collection system. In fact, Commissioner Jeff Willens, who lived on Hudson, and Betty was involved back then as well. We had an environmental committee, so it was presented to the environmental committee. So in October of 1999, the focus totally changed. Nobody cared about wastewater collection because we had over 18 inches of rainfall, and the southern portion of the town was totally flooded to the point where people couldn't go to their houses, and there was a lot of damage. In fact, several people not in the town, but Hurricane Irene in 1999 had several fatalities as well. It was a huge storm. So I wanted to share with you that over the years, I have been meeting with the town managers over the years, with residents in Ocean Ridge, mostly those folks that are in multifamily dwellings where package plants, what they call sewer systems, mini sewer systems, have been failing over the years. And they have come before us, usually around season when they come back from up north, and meet with us as staff to discuss ways by which we can just assist them with a conversion from their package plant drain field type systems to a system whereby the wastewater can be collected and then sent over to the city of Boynton Beach. Boynton Beach is our supplier, has the jurisdiction for our wastewater collection system. So I have been meeting on behalf of the town over the years, looking out for the town's interest. I know we have a contract that's going to be up in 2020, so we need to be a little more active with respect to that. I wanted to say that I am not a finance person or someone that can calculate rate studies. I can be of assistance on the technical end. So maybe what we need to do is pursue someone on a rate study. There are companies that do that type of work. But I'm here on your behalf, unless you choose otherwise, to assist with those discussions with the city of Boynton Beach, if in fact you do choose to move forward and at least move the people that are in the multifamily areas that have failing package plants, move them forward, and then whatever the commission chooses to decide in the future, to see if, in fact, maybe a conversion for single-family homes is palatable or not. I mean, there needs to be more discussion as far as costs are concerned and impacts and types of systems before you make a big decision to move forward with that.
Have you done this before?
Yes. I mean, I'm a professional engineer. I
For a
design
town, for an entire
sewers.
town.
Yes, and I've been a commissioner for 15 years in Palm Beach Shores. When I wasn't the commissioner, before I became commissioner, we did the conversion in Palm Beach Shores, which was on Singer Island, just similar to this town, where we got off septic tank and drain field, both the multifamily and single family. And we put in conventional gravity systems. It was a nightmare during construction, but at the end of the day, we used the standard type of methodology and move forward. I've designed systems like that before. That's my expertise. And so thank you for historically reminding everyone that I was originally here to make a presentation with respect to that back in the day. And Betty could tell you, because it was a long time ago. So
Thank you.
if you have any questions, my suggestion would be more on a finance side person, just to make sure that we're getting our bang for the buck representing the town. That's my thought. And Tracy and I had this discussion as well, and I think that's kind of where we were heading.
Okay. Do you want
May I add
to
to
keep
that?
Lisa here? Yeah?
Oh, Lisa could stay there, sure. But I just wanted to bring something up, but I'm going to have the last talk on the Tallahassee meeting. But a couple interesting things happened when I was there. I was with Representative Caruso, and twice he asked me, once at a cocktail party on Tuesday night, and then Wednesday morning when we officially met with him, he said, why didn't we come and ask him for money? He's already given, or he's putting in a bill to get Hypoluxo like somewhere near $670,000, and it has to be kind of matching funds, so it's not like they're just going to hand us money.
Right.
But he said, we need to come to him to ask him money. The other very interesting thing that happened was during that meeting, he knew more about the septic sewer system and the deal with Boynton Beach, and Ocean Ridge didn't talk to him about that, which means Boynton Beach is got his ear already, and they're telling him what we want to do, so to speak. So I think we have to be more proactive in that side. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be with Boynton Beach, you know,
Right.
whatever we decide to do, but we at least have to be talking to him directly and not have Boynton Beach talking for us, so.
Right. So, you know, we're a small town, and so when the philosophy or the thought pattern changed from let's talk about wastewater collection and how we can get funds switching to drainage, then we spent a lot of time in Tallahassee and actually got grants and loans and matching funds, several million, I believe, at the end of the day, to do a multi-million-dollar project. And I think the good news is that loan or bond is about to sunset. So it's time now to maybe move on to another capital project. that is very vulnerable in this town. And
Well,
so,
go ahead.
yeah, and so you can't go to Representative Caruso unless there's a consensus to move forward and have the proper paperwork financially to show this is what we need, this is how much it's going to cost, and this is what we need from you, Tallahassee.
Right, but I
So,
want to
but
add
we-
one more thing
yeah.
that Caruso told me was that they're probably going to mandate it within 10 years. So if we don't get it now, we're not going to get the grants because everybody else is going to be asking for it. So he said, you better move quickly because in 10 years, you're going to have to go to sewer anyway.
Okay.
And there's going to be no money for you.
Okay, well, there you go. So, I mean, in the past, that hasn't been the focus, but now that we've addressed the majority of the major flooding issues, it's time to move, to maybe change the focus now to that, to wastewater collection. It's somewhat of a hard sell to individual property owners.
But if
so
it's gonna
please
be mandated.
So be aware of that, but if it's gonna be mandated, then we need to move forward in a proactive manner for sure.
Right, and the other reason
Yeah.
I said he knows more about it and he's been hearing it from Boynton, he told me it's going to be free for us. Boynton Beach is going to give us a 40-year paying off through a usage fee. So, I mean, he knew all that.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
So I
Thank you.
need to open to public comment, and then we can come back and do more commission. Yes, Ron?
Good evening. I'm Ron Kern. I live in the little town of Ocean Ridge, but I'm also the president of the Colonial Crown Manor Disposal System. We service 290 of our customers. That's Crown Colony, Colonial Ridge, and Ocean Manor. Now, we have been working for 5 years now with the city of Boynton Beach to run a pipe ever since Riverwalk underneath the Intercoastal to come up on Crown Colony's property to eliminate the 3 treatment plants right now. 2 of them happen to be ground shelf plants, and the Crown Colony one happens to be a injection well plant. So those are the statistics. We have had numerous conversations with Boynton Beach Sewer. They've come back with proposals. If I say it's a dozen, it's probably an understatement. We have had them with costing, we have had them with where they want to go, but none of them have done anything, okay, that said, what about the town? What about the residents? What do you think? They wanted to dictate it. They've changed from a gravity-fed system that they were going to propose, which would start at Woolbright, pick up the Ocean Ridge Yacht Club, would then take the people from Colonial Ridge, hook them up to it, take the people from Turtle Beach, hook them up to it, and then eventually come down Chickashaw, where it would hook in Crown Colony to a lift station there, which would pump it across the Intercoastal Waterway to another receiving lift station now being built where Riverwalk is going. This is being pushed fairly heavy because they have to do Riverwalk systems, got to be in place, and this is a good time for them to put the receiving lift station at that point, since they'll have the pipes all the way into Federal. I'm perplexed with the people at Boynton because their lack of project management here really it seems very vague. They came up last month with a consultant review using a vacuum flow system. Vacuum flow system, instead of gravity fed, actually the big plant's built and it pulls the sewage through, then eventually to a lift station across. And we have all the diagrams for that. But again, that wasn't going to work because on Crown Colony property, they wanted to build a 31 by 35 foot building, 25 feet either high or low in the same area right on Crown Colony's property. Of course, they said it would be nicely landscaped. That's not going to happen on Crown Colony property. So when we objected, and we had a meeting of the Water Waste Treatment Plant's annual meeting, and there was a lot of grief about it. They immediately said, we're switching back to a hybrid system now. It was a really decent two-step where we're going to have both. However, we want you to go with the gravity flow system, and then from there, we'll hook in the others at some future time. I've asked them for several meetings. They've come back. They want to have a meeting. I said, good, you're going to come back with a plan, you're going to come back with costing, and you're going to come back with milestones. At that point in time, they said, no, we just want to sit around the table and talk. I basically threw them out. I said, no. Now they've told us they want to come back and meet with Crown Colony at the end of the month, and I said 75% of the people from these 5 communities are going to be gone. I don't know where this is going. I surely wouldn't mind working with somebody on this, because eventually, we all believe, all the communities, all 5 of these communities, that's 350, plus anybody from A1A to the beach is involved in this eventually. We believe that it's the right thing to do. But what I'd like to see is not more than just costing and where you can get money to help. But I would like to see a plan. I mean, I want to see something where they can come, they've talked to us, and a plan that shows this is where we're going to bring the pipe, this is how we're going to run it, and this is what our cost is going to be, and this is going to be when. I have yet to see that. I know they've had a workshop with the commissioners.
Yeah.
I have it. I've seen it. So it was a very nice dance they did there, but there's no difference from that workshop till now. There's been no action.
Right. So the problem we have is you guys talk directly to Boynton and you're making great headway and then it's getting a little fluttery. When they came to us, they were talking about enlarging the pipe, nothing about vacuums, and so that they could eventually encompass the whole town as the governor's mandate comes down for Barrier Islands to have to switch to sewers. So that's where we left it with, and then you guys were carrying the ball for your project, which is why what we're trying to do is bring in a sewer consultant, I don't know what you call it, engineer, to be the head of this whole situation so you get taken care of and the town gets taken care of. But this is all, you're going to be here April 18th because that'll be the discussion of sewers.
I just heard about it. I just put it in my calendar.
Good. Right now, we're discussing whether or not we need a sewer expert to be the champion for the town. And coincidental with that, our town engineer happens to be a sewer expert.
We would support that 100%.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron.
You opened it to public comment.
This is true.
Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. This is a much bigger picture than anyone's talking about. These municipal wastewater treatment facilities all over the state that are 20 or 30 years old are beginning to fail. This one is not the city of Boynton Beach. This South Regional plant must take all the sewer from Delray, or their zone, and Boynton Beach. Right now, they're at almost at 90% capacity during the winter months, which means they want to hook up thousands of more toilets, right? And this is our group. We had a group here in this community who fought these developments on Federal Highway. The more users that Boynton has, or Delray, because it's all one plant, the more money they get. They want to hook up as many people as they can, and all of a sudden they're trying to accelerate it because they got to get these projects off the ground. They've approved them. They got to hook them up to a poop line, and it's going down to this plant that's almost at capacity. And the director there told me that it has to be upgraded. It has to be completely renovated. So when these people hook up to this system, no one sitting on this dais will be able to control the user rate. That rate is controlled by that regional system. And they'll come in here and cry to you, my sewer price went up. You can't do anything about it.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, when the Boynton Sewer Commission came here, they said they were talking about a different plan, I believe. They were only at 20% of capacity, and they were currently negotiating with Lantana because they wanted more business. So you're correct on the more business part. But we're not sewer experts, so what we're discussing is hiring a sewer expert. Okay, so Commissioner comments on hiring a sewer expert, and if we do so, who should it be?
Well, I think it's a good idea. I think we should do it. I had given Tracy a card from one of the sewer experts I met at the, in Tallahassee. It was recommended from another mayor, but I think we should, and Lisa's name should be thrown out, or Lisa's firm should be thrown out. They're the two I only know of.
I agree with Phil. I think in addition to Lisa, that we should have someone else that is knowledgeable in negotiating and pricing and doing the engineering, just so that we've got all our bases covered, because we're dealing with people that already have a system, and we really have no knowledge of ourselves, ourselves.
Right, yeah. Okay, so I guess the motion is to have a town engineer match with a counterpart in the rate and finance of it?
I'd also like to see what are the other components that are involved, and Phil, maybe explore a little bit, because this is a multi-year, and it could be, a very expensive project. So this is going to go to probably RFP or RFQ, because it is well beyond the $25,000 threshold that we are even, that would be so I think we need to first define what it is that we truly want, rather than trying to piecemeal it here and there. I'd feel more comfortable if we had, based on your input, Lisa, and based on maybe the firm that you've talked to or about, just lay out every component that will be part of it. And I agree with Mr. Kern that this needs to be looked at, as a contiguous project now, not just piecemeal here and piecemeal there, because I agree with you, sometimes the lack of project management and the devil's in the detail is not going to serve us well as a town.
I suggest maybe we should have Tracy call a few other mayors that went through this process and maybe have RFPs already written, and so we know what we're looking for.
So you want to just simplify the motion that we're going to find a sewer expert?
Yes, and ask Tracy to do it for us.
I think we also should, go ahead, Brian.
Well, no, I'll finish. I guess, I don't know, I guess maybe Tracy was going to ask too. Do you want us to, if we get that information, to go out with an RFP before the next meeting, or come back and talk to you and say, here's what the RFP will look like? Are you okay with us going out with this RFP at this time?
A lot of it has to do with timing.
Okay.
I'd rather have somebody aboard sooner rather
Right.
than later, before we start to do any further workshops, or, before you have to make any, critical path decisions at all.
So then maybe we've got two things going on here, exactly what Brian described. In the meantime, I think the town needs someone who's that head person on this, and the only person we currently have is our town engineer. So, you see, we have Crown Colony and the Yacht Club pushing forward on a smaller version of what the town needs. And we're divorced from that, and we're sitting here talking point about a larger project. Meanwhile, that one could take off without us being involved. Ultimately, they would have
Are you
to.
taking off without us?
They will if it fails.
No, they won't.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no. One big problem.
But-
Just add one thing, is that it's the Crown Colony disposal system, that one has injection wells. And that means that when the water's done, it goes down 100 feet and it goes out underneath the intercoastal and comes up. It never touches groundwater, so therefore it doesn't pollute, all right? However, and it's running very well. That plant has got probably another 25 or 30 years of it. It's a concrete plant, and it's running quite well right now. However, Ocean Ridge Yacht Club in Turtle Beach, they have a different system where they go out on that, and the Ocean Ridge Yacht Club it needs repair. So it is a matter of timing for some, but for the bigger one, the 290 unit one, we'd love to see how this would come out in a study.
I guess I'm somewhat confused, is if the Crown Colony and the other ones can go independent of the town as far as negotiating with Boynton and...
We have the right of way that the pipe has to go through.
Correct.
Yeah, the pipe
They
has to
wouldn't-
go down Chickasaw.
Yeah,
Excuse
they-
me?
You are involved because the pipes
Right.
come down and you
Right. We have some control over it.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
but I guess I'm
would
not
like
making
to see
myself
something,
clear.
worked out.
Alls we need is I think we need to have somebody involved immediately. And in the meantime, Tracy talk to Lisa and the other experts that Phil has, and we'll make a choice on the RFP that Brian's mentioning. But in the meantime, I would like Lisa, as part of her town engineering task, to be heavily involved in this, so something doesn't slip by. Ishram over at Riverwalk's not going to wait for our bureaucracy to do something. He's going to take advantage of the situation.
Can I suggest a motion for you? If you authorize town staff, including the town engineer, to begin the process of retaining a professional consultant project manager for a rate study and also for negotiating the water contract and possible sewer conversion?
Do I hear it so moved?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Item number 9. This is Attorney Brian Shu. Second reading of ordinance 2019-0.
Yes, I think Carla's going to read the caption.
Second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2019-04, an ordinance of the Town of Ocean Ridge, amending its code of ordinances by amending Chapter 42, Solid Waste, by enacting Section 42-2, Solid Waste Collection Fees, Late Fees, Interest, and Waivers, to provide for late fees and interest and the waiver of fees and interest in certain situations, providing for codification, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
As discussed at the first reading of this ordinance, back in 2006, the Town Commission, at a Town Commission meeting, gave direction to staff regarding late fees and interest for solid waste collection, because the town bills the solid waste collection to all of its residents through Town Hall. This ordinance then would provide that if the collection fee is not paid within 30 days of the due date, a late fee in the amount set forth in an adopted schedule of fees would then be charged, and that just codifies what the direction was given back in 2006. It also provides that if a person fails to pay the collection fee, the town may lien the property, and that was also the direction back in 2006. The only thing that is added to this that is different from the direction back in 2006 is this also provides for a waiver to be granted by the town manager regarding the late fees or interest if the town manager determines that there was a mistake that the town made in placing such late fees or interest on the amount that was past due.
Okay, any public comment? Commissioner discussion?
I move to, you want to?
Sure.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2019-04 as submitted on second reading.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries unanimous. Okay, item number 10, first reading of ordinance number 2019-05, an ordinance Town of Ocean Ridge amending the Code of Ordinances. Carla?
First reading of ordinance number 2019-05, an ordinance of the Town of Ocean Ridge, amending its Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Officers and Employees, Section 2-26, Authority of Town Commission, to remove the restriction that does not allow additional compensation for employees when performing additional duties for more than one office, providing for codification, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Currently in your code, you have a section in your code that provides that the town commission may appoint one person to fill the duties of more than one office, and you also have the language in there, but such persons shall receive no additional compensation for additional service. All I've done is remove the language, but such person shall receive no additional compensation for such additional service, to allow when you have someone who is performing one, essentially more than one office, that you can compensate them in a greater manner than they're currently compensated.
Gotcha. Any public comment?
Stacy would get more money.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the reason of this. We have less employees. Jamie left, so we shift some duties around.
So I guess you're starting the commissioner discussion.
Oh, sorry.
Any commissioner discussion?
Pretty straightforward.
It's very, very straightforward, yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimous. Wow, a lot of
You're on
votes.
a roll.
Okay, item number 11, ordinance number 2019-06. Carla?
First reading of ordinance number 2019-06, an ordinance of the Town of Ocean Ridge, amending its code of ordinances by amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Elections, Section 2-199, Election Date of Annual Town Elections, and Section 2-200, Vacancies for features of office, filling of vacancies in office, and candidacy, to modify these sections in order to comply with the revised chapter provisions regarding elections, providing for codifications, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
And if you all remember back when we adopted the ordinances for the charter amendments before they went to referendum, at that point in time, staff had kind of mentioned to you, if those charter ordinances pass, that we would be needing to make some changes to our code of ordinances in order to make them consistent with the new charter language. And so that's what this ordinance does. It basically talks about the vacancies, forfeiture of office, and vacancies in the office of commissioner. And what I've basically done, I have struck through most of those provisions in our ordinances because they are already covered by the language that was approved at referendum in your charter. So that would supersede this anyway, so I'm just removing this as it is inconsistent with the charter language. And there were a couple other minor changes on this just to refer back to the charter language. So that's what you have before you.
Okay, any public comment? Commission discussion? Do we hear a motion?
I'll move to adopt ordinance number 2019-06 as submitted on first reading.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Item number 12, time extension request by the Palm Beach County for the special exemption permit for Ocean Inlet Park. Is this Wayne?
I'll take this one. There's a special exception that's scheduled to expire May 6, 2019. We received a letter from Palm Beach County requesting the extension, which is attached in your backup material. The ordinance as it stands requires the town commission to grant the extension if so desired. We as staff have no restrictions and no objections to the extension being granted and being requested.
With the extension, is there any modifications of the plans?
There's no modification or changes to the original plan. It's exactly as originally approved.
I just want to clarify too for the record that section 64-112 as cited in the memo from the county does not apply to this since that section in your code relates to subdivisions. So this extension will be pursuant to section 63-55.
Thanks for clearing that up. Okay, public comment? Commission comment? Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the 6-month extension on the special exception permit for the Ocean Inlet Park project.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, finally something that's not an ordinance, okay. Item number 13, authorize future investments by town funds, of town funds. Tracy?
Yep, historically, the town has invested around $2.5 million in either CDs or treasury notes on a staggered basis. Our last treasury note in the amount of $500,000 will mature on May 31st of this year. So now is the time to begin investing again so we can see a larger return on our investment. The current CD rates from City National Bank are attached for your review and range from 2.25% to 2.55% depending on the length of the CD. The current money market rate ranges between 1.75% to 1.9%. In comparison, our current CDs and treasury notes that we had from Bank of America only ranged from 0.55 to 1.5%. So this is a major increase in that. In order to be aggressive enough to gain some return on our investments and at the time make sure we have enough cash flow so we can meet our current obligations, I would suggest that we place $1 million in an 18-month CD, or we could also do 2 CDs at $2 million in a 12-month CD, $500,000 in a 6-month CD, and an additional $1 million in the money market account immediately. We currently have $1,078,000 in the money market account. The money we place in our current money market account can be transferred to the general fund up to 6 times per year in order to have cash flow if needed, so it's not a high risk.
So we've never had a problem with that 6 times a year or any issues? It's readily available, it hasn't?
This is brand new because we just transferred to City
No,
National.
but I mean the current money that we have sitting there.
Right,
Right,
correct.
okay. So I guess my question is, if you can do it 6 times a year, does Tracy foresee, or anybody here foresee a problem with being limited? No.
No, because you can put as much money,
That's
so
right.
if you've got a problem, you have to move $1 million, you can move $1 million, and all you gotta do is that once, so
Right.
it shouldn't be a problem.
Exactly.
Okay, I wanted to thank Commissioner Bessler and Tracy for working through this. This started 6-7 months back when Commissioner Bessler suggested we ladder the funds to get a higher rate of return, and this is the end result of that investigation.
Well.
It's different.
It's more than
Different
that. What we did was we moved the funds. As Tracy said, we were getting like 0.5%. Now we're getting like 3 times, 4 times as much on the money market fund. But the laddering thing, I'm kind of reversing on the laddering thing. Tracy gave you a choice. But if you look between the 12 months and the 18 months, it's only 0.05%, which is like 5/100ths. So it's like $500 to hold it for another 6 months. And interest rates are probably gonna rise, so it doesn't make sense, so we should not wait, but keep that money in a 12-month. It becomes available again, and then we put it in a higher interest rate. Now, nobody has a crystal ball to tell that, but it kind of looks that they're low now, and they probably have more upside than they're gonna ever have downside in the next 18 months. So that was my suggestion to Tracy and to the commission.
Okay. Do we have a public comment on this?
Just a quick question. I read through the material, Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. But do we have any official rating of these banks? If Bauer 5-star rating? I only have my money in 5-star banks. So if they're all 5-star, we're okay.
Yes, they are, plus, what's the governmental agency that approves this? Remember, we had to get that?
The government has
Well,
to approve where
Well,
municipalities.
Yeah, no, they give you a list.
Right, it's a qualified public depository.
Right.
and
So- But
there's
it still has,
insurance.
it's a bank, so it still has a rating. And you're saying it's
Yes.
5-star?
Yes, we looked at this
Okay.
many months ago when the town commission decided to move our funds from the banks that we currently have them in into City National, who is giving us better rates.
Great.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of municipalities that have invested in this bank. Well, no, I shouldn't say invested, but have their money in this bank.
By the way, for people that are unaware, Phil has been a top-notch accountant, moving millions, if not billions of dollars around for 20-odd years.
What was the?
So-
Don's asking the insurance. Maybe you should do it publicly.
The FDIC rate on this, what's the insurance rate, the max that it goes to? Is it $250 or $500?
We're fully insured.
Fully insured for the
All the
total-
money that's in the
total
bank,
amount?
yes.
Okay.
And we received that in writing from the bank.
Right, they have additional insurance
Right.
beyond it.
Okay, cool.
So, Phil, you mentioned that you wanted to, if I understood you properly, you wanted to slightly change this particular investment strategy, or?
Well, just the 18 months. Don't get into the 18 months, just stay with the 12 months, because you're not really, you're gonna get another $500 on $1 million, and it doesn't make sense.
So does anybody else have anything to say on this? So maybe you could make the motion, Phil?
Sure. I move to authorize the acting town commissioner to invest town funds as outlined in the agenda memorandum for item 13 on the April 1st, 2019 Town Commission meeting agenda, except for the 18-month CD, to turn that back to a 12-month CD.
A second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good, unanimous. Okay. Designation of voting delegate and alternates to the Palm Beach County League of Cities.
Yes.
This is Tracy.
Yes, each year after your elections have taken place, the Palm Beach County League of Cities distributes the voting delegate forms to municipalities for updated designations. The voting delegates are designated by the Town Commission, will be authorized to vote on behalf of Ocean Ridge on municipal public policy, legislative matters, and membership operations periodically presented and adopted by the Palm Beach County League of Cities Board of Directors. Currently, you have Commissioner DeHasseth as your voting delegate, and you have the town manager and the rest of the commission as your alternates. You could do that, or any other scenario, have any of the town commissioners as your delegate and the rest as your alternates.
What do you want to do?
I'd be happy to stay on. I enjoy going to the meetings. I feel like we've got some solid relationships that we've built. So.
All right, public comment? Commission comment?
Well, I'll make a motion. I move to renew Commissioner DeHatheth's as designated commissioner for voting at the League of City meetings, and also the District 4 meetings that we have, backed up by the town manager and fellow commissioners.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey, do you have a phone in your breast pocket by any chance?
No,
You
I've got one in my pants pocket.
No, because something was beeping.
Yeah,
I
so-
should shut mine off.
There's a lot of feedback somewhere.
Okay, item number 15, consideration of multimedia notification tool. Chief?
At the March commission meeting, you requested additional information on public mass notification tool. We spoke about Code Red and Civic Plus. Mrs. Janet Shines was asked to give her expertise. Did a very thorough analysis. She is here and available to answer any of your questions. She has recommended that we go with Civic Plus as our mass notification tool for many reasons. Number one, and most importantly, is the amount of ways that we can notify and the confidentiality of information that she's found in this particular platform.
Anybody like to add anything? Just for background, there was 3 companies that came to us. One was $20,000 a year, one was $1,500 a year, and the other was roughly $15,000. But one of the $1,500, thanks to Janet Shin, we found out would actually take your information and then sell it to make additional revenues. So now we've nixed that one and we've gone with the Civic Plus program, if we decide to do it at all. Any public comment? No? Commissioner comment?
Is Ms. Shines in the audience?
She is.
She is? Oh, good. Yep. Didn't see you there.
I was hiding.
You're worried about that data breaching.
And I won't go through the slides, but I did produce, and just for the commission as a reminder, former Verizon executive, and I ran the wireless partnership program, both in government and enterprise. So when I heard last month that we had a great suggestion by one of the commissioners that we go with an emergency notification system, I had some concerns about data protection and overall pricing. Worked with Chief Hutchinson, who made a great negotiator, by the way. We should have him negotiate more deals. And so we looked at what the use would be. So we want to do this during an emergency for immediate events that occur, like road work, a closure, an accident, et cetera, and routine updates to towns, like the April 18th meeting. You could even use this system for. Everything is submitted by the authorities and communicated. What we did like about Civic Plus is they do give you the opportunity to edit. So you can submit something for approval. So let's say it's something the commission needs to approve. You can actually draft the message, submit it for approval, have it approved, and go out. If you go to the next one. So what we looked at, and the chief talked about this: cost, support, ease of use, used by the populace. the ability to upgrade and add functionality, and the data integrity. And I just did a quick chart on 3 options on the next page: Code Red, Civic Plus, and Nixle, which is used by a lot of bigger towns. As you can see, Civic Plus got 2 X's in a lot of areas. This is a format that I use to evaluate applications for about a decade in the mobility space, so I thought it was good. I also reached out to Wellington, who has moved from Code Red to Civic Plus due to their concerns about scalability. I'll just point out this offers us unlimited usage. I talked about the message drafts, and again, as the chief said, the data security, Mayor Cause and the commission is much better for this. They are not selling the data. They are not isolating when you are away from your home and somehow geotagging who isn't in the town. So I think Civic Plus is a great recommendation. If we go to the final slide, Chief Hutchinson actually got a pretty good deal, a 2-year deal for
2,065 the first year and 965 every year.
the second year, including the implementation, which we didn't have in this analysis. And we're recommending that we implement before the hurricane season if we can, so that people can be evaluated. So that's it. That's my recommendation.
So but do people have to opt into this, correct?
Yes, you have to opt in. There is an option to take the residential database and be able to make phone calls in a true emergency to landlines. I don't think we're planning on implementing that, but there is that option if you wanted it. But you would opt in, and it's email, text, voice.
Do we have any idea on how many folks have signed up on the forms that we've got at the front desk?
We can tell you that, but I don't have the data in front of me
It
right
was,
now,
it
but we
was
can tell you.
about to break 700.
Really? Good, okay, that's good.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, Janet, might as well, anybody got questions?
Oh, I'm just walking away, hoping there was no questions. Sorry. Questions?
I just want to tell you thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much.
Appreciate it. It was fun to work on.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, so I would like to thank Ms. Shines for all of her work. She obviously has a different view of these things, which helped immensely in our decision. And I would ask that you consider allowing us to implement this immediately at the $2,065 cost, in hopes that we can implement it as quickly as possible and perhaps have a meeting and some presentation to the town's folks in a special, maybe lecture series type thing that we used to have in an evening before everybody goes up north
Wow.
for the season. It's an aggressive plan, but I would like to try and do that so that we can have everybody understand the importance of opting in and being able to get the information from us.
Because we're going to need cell phone numbers, correct?
My understanding.
If that's your preferred point of contact.
My understanding is that you have several options. One is cell, text, the other is email, and then there is a geofencing capability that will only give you alerts if you're in this particular area that we send out.
Gotcha. So I would assume, and you're the chief of police, that you would prefer the cell number so you could text immediately and know the person received that, because maybe half the people get their emails immediately and half don't.
I think that in this day and age, text notifications of these types is probably preferred for emergency notification or road closures. As for general notification, I think people probably would like to use the email. You can use both.
Yeah, I understand. So it's gonna be sort of your job to convince people to give the cell, up their cell number. They might feel a little leery about that, but all the work that Janet's done could be presented to them in a short fashion that shows they're not gonna sell it on you.
30-minute presentation here. We'll lure you in with some free food, maybe.
Yeah. And then you'll get robocalls the rest of your life.
And get the word out would be something that we would want to do to push this forward. Obviously, we'll have to go to the attorney to get the contract language reviewed.
Okay. Anything else?
Any consensus, Frank?
Well, yes, I mean, I think if you want to go ahead and you can give direction to say, let's move forward with Civic Plus and enter into an agreement subject to, I guess, any changes made by the town attorney or town staff.
So moved.
All those in favor? signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So we have unanimous once again. Yep. Okay, that sounds terrific. Okay, staff reports, town manager.
Okay, Okay, I just want to remind residents again that we have a goal-setting special meeting on April 18th at 2 p.m. for the purpose of the goal-setting workshop, as well as we will also put on the agenda the second reading of ordinance number 2019-05 that you heard the first reading today, and the town manager transition plan due to the time-sensitive nature of those two items. I also wanted to report some good news to you. After a year and a half of working on the Hurricane Irma grant, they have finally obligated to pay us approximately $110,000 from that grant. So it took me a year and a half to work on it. It's completed. Now, they haven't told us when we're gonna get our funds yet. They haven't committed to that, but they're obligated to pay us at least $110, so that's good news. At the last town commission meeting, the commission directed former town manager Jamie Titcomb to explore the possibility of fixing the opening times of the Woolbright Bridge as opposed to it being opened on demand. Before Jamie left, he did reach out to the city of Boynton Beach so that we could collaborate on strategies for addressing the shared intercoastal issues that we have, such as the bridge opening times, no-wake zones, and things like that nature. I also reached out to Ms. Leverriere, the city manager, again this week, and she referred me to her assistant city manager, Colin Groff, who will be contacting me shortly. If he doesn't contact me by the end of the week, I'm going to be contacting him. So we'll continue with that. I want to take this opportunity, and I don't know if we have any members in the, yes, we do. We have Stella here. I want to take the opportunity to thank the members of the Garden Club, and specifically Stella Cole, who was the team lead for a beautification project to beautify our town monument signs on Ocean Avenue and Woolbright Road. The new plantings have added a lot of color and character to the town, and when you're out and about, please take a look at that, and we thank Stella and her team for doing that. Yay. I also want to thank our Garden Club for bringing the community together for their Art and Wine in the Gardens of Ocean Ridge event, which was very successful. We had a lot of residents here. The event was spearheaded by Lisa Ratoda, and we want to thank her and the rest of the Garden Club for raising scholarship funds through that process for youth in our area. And then we also want to thank Vice Mayor Magruder and also one of our Public Works staff, Billy Armstrong, for attending the Coastal Resilience Partnership meeting last month to learn more about the town's challenges that we face due to sea level rise. Vice Mayor Magruder has spent countless hours on this initiative and also other issues related to flooding in order to protect the future of the town, and we want to thank him for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Don. And that is all I have for this evening, unless commissioners have questions.
We good? Okay. Brian?
The only thing I have at the last commission meeting, the commission gave direction to myself and the chief to look at the proposed ordinance at the time the city of Hollywood was adopting on banning scooters. It's my understanding they've recently adopted that, so we may be bringing something forward to you at your next commission meeting, whether it's discussion or whatever, to take a look at that.
I think Commissioner Bessler will get into that when he brings up the legislation. All right, Police Chief?
The February monthly report is attached. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Okay. Wayne?
The monthly report for the building department is in your backup. Do you have any questions?
Is that permit applications received, is that, my memory serves me, that's higher?
The numbers are coming in a lot higher than there were before the moratorium.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a floodgate, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a lot, wow.
We also want to note that we have approximately 15 new homes that will be built in Ocean Ridge in the very near future, and that is a very high number.
What do you mean by new?
Brand new homes.
Like knocking down an old home?
We have 15 that will be in the works very soon,
Wow.
that we know of.
That you know of?
That we know of so far. That we know of so far, yes.
You got a comment?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Bob Merkel, Marlin Drive. There's a rumor about a house at the end of Island Drive that will have 9 bedrooms.
Yeah,
Is that just a rumor, or is that?
it's a rumor that floated and exploded, and now it's simmered all down. Don't worry. Wayne is all over it, the P&Z's all over it. If they get 9 bedrooms, we're all moving in. Yeah, yeah.
I'd also like, I'd like to comment that in addition to all of these building duties that Wayne Cameron has been involved with Lisa and myself in trying to solve some of the drainage problems. So in addition to doing his house checks, he's doing drain checks and valve checks and barnacle checks, and I appreciate that very much. And it's taken quite a load to get that done.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay, number 21, commission tasks going forward. Vice Mayor?
Okay, if you will indulge me, I will read a memo that I have spent countless hours drafting. But anyway, as everyone saw this evening, the advantages of having Commissioner Bessler on the commission is very much. So as a CPA, I would like to have Mr. Bessler work with the town and keep us on track and keep us from getting bogged down in the many overlapping and sometimes confusing aspects of developing a town budget for 2020. Phil could work with the town administration, which he is already doing, the police department, engineering, and legal counsel to identify town priorities and bring those items to the commission for discussion. Commissioner DeJesus, her position with the Florida Coalition for Preservation makes her a perfect commission liaison to keep our commission and residents informed of issues facing Ocean Ridge and our neighbor Barrier Island communities from South Palm Beach to Delray. Issues that they deal with, such as population growth, traffic density, water quality, and protecting our beaches and marine life, are important to our well-being and community culture. Commissioner DeJesus is also an active member of the League of Cities and District 4 League meetings, and we've just voted her again to represent the town as a voting delegate, so I think that's an appropriate one. As far as Commissioner Holbert, being the newest one, I've got chores for you also, suggested chores. As the newest member of our commission, I would suggest that Susan use her expertise in public involvement on various boards and civic associations to write articles for the town's website and perhaps the Coastal Star, so that residents are kept up to date on all commission projects. Of course, Vice Mayor Magruder is known as the water boy, so I will stay very much involved in that and working with Lisa and Wayne on the drainage systems, the valves that we're having, and also trying to push through some immediate repairs that we need on town that we can use this year's budgets on before we move into next year. And Mr. Mayor?
That leaves me with sewers.
I believe that delegating the above roles could help provide a basic consensus among the commissions while allowing you more time to lead our administrative department through a smooth transition while staying closely involved in potential interlocal infrastructure agreements such as the sewer and whatnot that we've talked about, operational issues, and legal matters that may arise in the coming months. So those are my suggestions for individual assignments for the commissioners that I just put out on the table for further discussion. It's not a mandate, but I just think it would help us all work together more closely, and we have more meetings where we get 5 yeas and no nays. So I leave that open for comment. If there's no comment, we can move on.
Yeah, I think we picked our talents and put us into the town area,
Yeah.
right?
Thanks, Dan.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right, item 22.
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome.
report on legislative action days. Commissioner Bessler.
Okay, last week I ended up in Tallahassee with many other towns to fight for home rule. And for those who don't know what home rule is, and I think 99% of you know it, is basically what's happening is the big companies try to let the state run the towns, because once they do something, they can do it all throughout the state, as compared to having to go to each town and have different ordinances to deal with. So we went to Tallahassee. We were represented by the Florida League of Cities up there. The Florida League of Cities broke us up into counties. Of course, they put me in Palm Beach County. And then we ended up spending 2 days there, either preparing for or meeting with the senators and the representatives. Both Senator Berman and Representative Caruso scheduled meetings with us. We met with the other representatives. However, those two are Ocean Ridge representatives and senator. My observations are as follows, and you're going to see when you look at this. I don't know if you guys got that, but I'll explain that to you. They have it. Oh, okay, okay. My observations are as follows. The lobbyists against home rule are well-financed, and they have the legislators' ears. They are constantly meeting with them. We show up and meet with them for 2 days. They can utilize PAC money where it's against the law for the FLC to use PAC money. The bills started by Republicans are going to be heard. The ones that are started by Democrats aren't going to see the light of day. The effective towns have their own lobbyists, and they send 2 people to these meetings. 2 people in the town can then be at 2 places at once. One joins the town meetings that I was doing, but then the other person goes around and either gets one-on-one, or if there's a bill against that town, they go and present right to the committees, because if you can beat this in the committee, it dies. So you get a bunch of chances to beat it. So if you can make a good presentation, you can get it to go away. That I couldn't do because it couldn't be in 2 places at once. Representative Caruso and Berman are sharp, they know the issues, and they're very good, and they're going to ask you hard questions, so you have to be prepared. Also, Representative Caruso also, and I think I explained that to you during the sewer bill, he knew a lot more about the septic to sewer than anybody in Ocean Ridge would have told him. So I think somebody else has his ear. Now let's, if you look at this, and I'm going to go in order, the telecommunications bill. What this is saying is that the telecommunication companies want to just get their permits right away. They don't want to wait in line. They just want to show up, get it, and do their thing. They also want to tell us where they're going to put everything, their apparatuses, their poles, all. They don't want to listen to the town. So if this bill passes, they're going to have the right to put them anywhere they want, as long as it's a right-of-way or it's city property. Right now, both the House and the Senate are passing these through. So it's a good possibility this is going to go through, and it's going to be run by the state and mandated by the state and not by the individual towns. The private property rights, the Burt Harris Act, if a town loses a case or is in litigation because they set an ordinance that's going to devalue somebody's property, for example, if you have like the example they gave is short-term leasing. If for some reason you get an ordinance that says you can only have 10 people in the house at one time, and somebody used to rent to 15 people because they've got the 9 bedrooms or whatever, that devalues their property, and therefore you have to pay them. So what a lot of towns do is they negotiate and they give that person a variance. Well, what happens is this new law is going to say if they give that person a variance, any similar situated property will get that same variance. So it'll go through the town. And so far, the current situation with that is it's moving through the House and is actually being heard by the Senate tomorrow. Community redevelopment agencies, I'm really not going to talk about that because we don't have one in Ocean Ridge. Short-term rentals. What this is, the state wants to regulate the towns so that they cannot put any ordinance against them. They're also eliminating the grandfather clause. We have the grandfather clause. So under the old bill, we would have won. Under this new bill that they're proposing, we will lose, which means short-term rentals, forget the 30 days, they can stay for the weekend if this passes. Now, the good and this is always a moving target, so you should understand, it could always get passed, but right now, the Senate put amendments in that says they can't do it. The towns can regulate short-term rentals, which means we could eliminate them if we don't want them. The House, however, has passed it already through 2 committees. So we have to be careful. There's like horse trading at the end to get appropriations. So this could come back and haunt us, but right now it's in our favor because you both have to have the Senate and the House to pass it. And so far, the Senate is going to pass it with the negotiations that our town would like. But of course, the House is just letting it go as regular, where the state would regulate it and not us. We'd have no say in the matter. The scooters is another issue that looks good. Rick, you'll be happy. Same thing, the Senate will allow the towns to regulate the scooters. The House will keep the regulations within the state, which means if the House bill, if they negotiate and the House bill gets it, we lose. If the Senate bill gets it, we win. However, when I was there on Wednesday, we were told to stop talking about the scooters. It was kind of a done deal. We won. So, but you never know. You can't believe everything. It's a horse trade going on right now. The next issue is the attorney fees and costs. What would happen is, in this case, if we set an ordinance and there was a state law that regulated that ordinance and there was a black and white area, meaning it's called express legislative preemptions, meaning that it's kind of black and white. They've got the law. We put an ordinance. They call us rogue. We'd be a rogue town, and we'd try to fight that ordinance. If we lost that case, we would have to pay the legal fees for ourselves, of course, and then for the winning defendant or plaintiff, depending on which side of the argument they were on. Now, the current situation right now is the way it's going to work is the Senate, if let's say, government only pays if it's an expressed. So like I said, it's black and white, so it's not an implied, so there's not gray area, it's kind of black and white. If there's an express one and we lose, then we do pay the legal fees. If we won, and this is just the Senate's version, if we did win, even though it was kind of quasi black and white, but we had an argument for that ordinance, and we won that case, then the other party would pay our legal fees. That's the way the Senate is. So they want to be fair on both sides. If it's going to be legal fees paid, winner gets paid. So the loser pays both legal fees. In the House, they agree with the express legislative preemptions, meaning that you only lose if it's preemptive. If it's implied, then that's a gray area. You don't pay the legal fees. However, in the House side, only the government ends up paying, which means even if the government wins the case, they still have to pay the lawyers for the government. But if the other guy wins, he gets his legal fees paid. Does everybody follow that? Kind of a little confusing. Did you get it or not? No?
So, if I could just interrupt for 1 second. Brian, is there any current, well, you don't have to answer the question, but you'll obviously be keeping track of this on any current legal situations the town is in versus any citizens?
Well, if it has to be approved yet, we're still being...
Yeah, but it's in the process, but we have long-standing lawsuits currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only one lawsuit that I'm aware of that is currently ongoing, but there's an express provision for the payment of attorney's fees if they prevail. So this doesn't really impact it that much because it's already expressly stated in the statute what would happen.
Thanks.
Now, did you understand it, or you want me to go do it again? Do it? Oh, no. You want to go home, okay. I get it. All right, so the next issue is affordable housing, and what's happening is there's a fund for affordable housing, but the state keeps robbing that fund and using it for other services, and in that, the Senate is going to rob $231 million, and the House wants $131 million, so there's a $100 million difference.
Out of that fund?
Yes. But what's going to, you really don't know the results of that until the budget, and that's near the end. So all the horse trading will take place, and then the budget will be proposed. Then there's also water funding, and if you read this has more details, but I'm not going to go through all that. But what the Senate is proposing is around $400 million, which includes $25 million for septic to sewer, which I was talking to Caruso about. That won't probably pay for our bill, but what's going to happen with the rest of the state? So that's not really enough money for that conversion. And the House is around $200 million with no direct mention of septic to sewer. So we probably like the Senate bill, but of course, it's really peanuts for the whole state anyway. Okay. Do you want to talk more about this, or do you want my suggestions? And then talk about it? Okay. So these are the issues that I would like the commission to consider after 2 days of these meetings, so. The first one is, I think we need to meet with Senator Berman or Representative Caruso more often, or have them come, and we have like a, what's it called, town meeting or something, because I think that's good, because they're both very interested in Ocean Ridge. Berman drives down A1A through Ocean Ridge every day to go to work, and she said she didn't even know we were septic. She didn't realize that. Like I said, Caruso knew it only because I think somebody else was telling them, so. I think we need to apply for the sewer money. I mentioned that already, and I think whether it's a partnership, it's going to have to be a partnership of town and state money, so we're going to have to put some up. And then, with or without Boynton, but that'll evolve. I think we need to discuss with the other towns and Florida League of Services a pact. Now, it's illegal for FLC to have a pact, but I talked to Richard, and he said they had mentioned it before, but they need a real rich person to get this off. So I don't know why that is, but I think if we talk to a bunch of towns, there could be some issues that we could get our arms around, whether it's 2 or 3 every year that come up, because every time you see these bills, all these bills do is give more power to the state and takes it away from the town. That's what you see all, 80% of these bills are like that, and you saw that. And I think we also need to get a grassroots report campaign, because what happens is there's like 3 committees they have to go through. So the House has to go through 3 committees, and then the House has to vote after these committees of 5 people, 9 people, or whatever. Anytime that gets nixed, it dies. So you've got 3 committees on the House, you've got 3 committees on the Senate side. So if you can beat any one of these steps, it usually goes away, because they've only got a short period of time to get through it. And once they get one strike against them, they kind of almost give up on these issues, and they move to what they can get approved. So if we had a roots campaign with the town, and what I'm talking about is the whole Florida League of Cities, even if you only get 10% of the people in Florida to send notes to these people on the committee, that's 2 million people. If we can get 2 million people to send these people emails right before the vote, I think we can get their attention. Where the lobbyists, the other side, they're with them all the time, tell them, what's going on. And there has been some miscommunication because of that. We find out, it's sort of like they say. Well, how do you argue they say, right? And one of the things was the telecommunications companies, the reason they want to be able to tell us where to put the stuff and get the permits right away is because there's towns that get in their way and make them go through hoops so they can't get anything done. And that's they. But they, Caruso didn't know who was the town, so how do you argue that? There's 412 towns in the state of Florida, so how do you go start hunting for one of those 412? So we need, if we're in their face or we talk to them more often, we'll find out, okay, that's town, see if it's true, and if it is, talk to the town. Say, don't cause us problems. And that's what this 1 or 2 towns have done. That's why this telecommunications bill, and that's why they're leaning to pass it. They believe they, and we still haven't found out who they is, so hopefully we will, and we can correct for that. The stupidest thing you're ever going to hear from me is I think we need business cards for the commissioners. I was at the meetings, they're handing me cards. Where's your card? I'm texting them my phone number and my email address. So I don't know, for $10 we can get some.
Absolutely, we can get you some.
All right.
Do you have your badge?
Yes, I had my badge. I had, I love home rule. Had my pin. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Phil. That's good. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, that wraps up our evening. The meeting is adjourned. 8:05.
Not bad, huh, for all that many?
Sure.
Okay, so you, Jerry.
You know what? I'm sure Christine has a method. Like in that package, there's a minutes from last meeting as we're speaking.
I appreciate that very much. I have something for you. You're the postmaster?
And say whatever happened with the sewers.
Okay, so that's,
Okay.
and that's where I'll start saving.
So open it up and look what's in there. No, you need to look what's in here, okay? Yeah. Look at the date on it. Oh my goodness, Steve. Look at, I just passed this to your appointed.
Yes.